Hello, racing fans, and welcome back to the channel. Pretty much time for the jumps racing boys. How you both doing?
Good now,
Come
Joe, and
on,
yourself?
yeah. Don't jump all at once. Connection, okay, boys? You live? You well?
No, all gravy, mate. Yes.
Good,
No,
good, good.
yeah. Had a good weekend, Joe. Looking forward to this. The proper stuff's getting started.
Yeah, we've been getting a little bit of giddy off camera, so we're gonna sort of jump straight in now. As mentioned, this is like Liam just said, the start of the jump season. Now we are gonna start with this episode by bringing you our five UK horses to follow each, and then we're going to do the same for Irish horses as well. Um, the basis of how we've come up with selections, I'm sure, is going to be all completely different. But I'll ask the boys as well, sort of what was the premise and the idea of, um, the five that they found, and then we'll basically go from there. But anything to report, lads? We've obviously got some stable tours and things coming up, haven't we? We've got our season preview on the 1st of October with Road to Cheltenham. So plenty busy, aren't we, at the moment?
No, absolutely, mate. I'm enjoying it, to be honest. I started a little bit of a tracker for the National Hunt season in my Telegram.
Who do you
I've
use?
just
What do
enjoyed.
you use, Liam?
How do you mean? Oh, from a tracker perspective, I use at the races, and funnily
Do
enough,
you?
I was going through my tracker and realised I evidently am not getting the
Yeah.
notifications because there's winners in
Oh,
there, and I have definitely not received an email
right.
telling me they're running.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. I've been an avid user of sort of racing posts forever, but I decided to knock it on the head. It was getting, must admit, it's getting quite expensive for what you get. I thought, right, I'm going to try something new. Gone over to irishracing.com. They've got a tracker and it's absolutely brilliant. You get notified when there's an entry, declared, all sorts. So
Is that free to
anyone,
use, Joe? Is
it's
it?
free to use. Yeah,
Free to use, yeah.
exactly that. Yeah. So anyone who's listening might want to just give it a go. Obviously, we've got the jump season starting. It might be a good idea to start a fresh one. So I know some people have hundreds and hundreds of horses in there. That might be a good time to
I
start
think
now.
that's the thing that boggles my head a little bit, Joe. So
Yeah, yeah,
it's going to be painstaking to transfer all of that
yeah. That's
across to a
true.
new one. But no,
Yeah.
but the thing is, it's probably worthwhile if you're missing out on winners. Like I think I definitely would have done. Not from I have missed out
Mm.
on them through my own fault, but also not being
Sure.
notified. I think on a couple of
Yeah,
occasions.
that's the thing as well. I suppose it depends how you actually use your tracker. I know there are a lot of people who will just back anything that comes up in their tracker for a particular day. But
Mm.
I suppose when they put particular horse in the tracker, they might have thought, oh, this will be ideal when he goes up to 2 mile four. But then in the next race, if you're just blindly backing it and it's running over 2 miles again, you're sort of defeating the point of the object of having the tracker, aren't you? You want to make sure
Absolutely.
there's actually substance and things behind it. But Jamie, you a tracker man or all up here with you? Old school, thought so.
Pen and
Plenty of
paper.
knowledge,
I don't need a pen
all
and paper.
always up to date, always up to date. Right then, lads, let's get stuck in, shall we? We've got five horses to follow each. Liam, do you want to start us off? But before you do, what is the premise of your five to follow? The overall picture. Have you got five handicappers? Are you finding horses that you think will do plenty of winning? Or
Yeah, so I'd like ideally to have found five that
Mhm.
would be horses genuinely to follow, so that you could follow them through the course of the season and back them on multiple occasions. Funnily enough, one of the criterias for the Tipstar competition last year was around a horse to follow. So I put up Frere Dams because I thought he definitely had a load of winning that he was
Mm.
capable of doing over the course of the season, and he did. To be fair, not any time I backed him, but he did win three or four races last year. So most of them are of that nature, Joe, but some of them perhaps would have a day in mind as well, rather than
Yeah, I
them
love
being
that.
horses you could back every time out. So a bit of a balance, hopefully.
Okay, well, do you want to fire away with selection number one then on that basis, or start with five and then we'll go to one if that's how you've done it? I'm not sure, but
No,
fire
no,
away.
absolutely, mate. Yeah. So my first one is a bumper horse that I think's potentially gone a little bit under the radar. It's a horse called Bossman Jack. He's trained by
Oh,
Dan Skelton, and
forgot this.
we all flagged this as a little bit of a
Mm.
joke last year, obviously with us being close with Ian. And the horse ran really well at Wincanton, winning a bumper by over 3 lengths. He can't have been shown an awful lot at home because the Skeltons let him go off at 7.5 to 1. And I thought he was really impressive. He was held up almost dead last throughout periods of the race, and then just took a keen hold and absolutely ploughed through the field. He ended up winning by over 3 lengths. What he's beat, who knows? The bumper form subsequently has not worked out brilliant, but it was all hands and heels. He won by 3 lengths. He was green when hitting the front, and I think he's definitely one that you can follow throughout the season. He'll win probably a bit of a penalty kick novice hurdle, providing that he takes to obstacles. I think he's potentially listed, if not graded, quality. But if people wanted to track him through the season, I'd be backing him in novice hurdles. I'd back him in any sort of listed event. And then potentially something like the Imperial Cup, I think, over a little bit more of a trip. Deep ground, I think his action suggested like that, Joe. I think he is definitely one to keep on side. But if people, he's only had the one start, stick it in your sporting life or wherever you rewatch your work races. I thought he was mega impressive, and it turned out as a joke. And he's one of my most exciting ones for next year.
Yeah, I forgot about him, but he did, didn't he? He just cantered through and he just pulled away as well. So, right, we love that. Bossman Jack is number 1 there for Liam. Jamie, we're going to go over to you, but same question. What's the idea around your 5 to follow? Find plenty of winners? You want to find one that's going to target a particular race, or think you might have you found a novice hurdler that could become a graded horse? I mean, what's the premise here?
To be honest, it's my first time ever doing these things. I've finished
fair enough,
and not been absolutely smart. I have no interest years ago, but now I actually have, and actually looking forward to this because I've actually found a couple of horses. The first one will lead into your horse, Joe. It will lead into your horse, and he finished ahead of him in the Albert Bartlett. And this is, to me, my first one is to target a race. I know it's 33-40 to 1 for Browns. But I think it's more of an ultimate horse, and obviously she is a great trainer of staying chasers.
Oh, okay, I got it.
Of Lucinda Russell, and it was third in the Albert Bartlett, behind Jasmine DeVoe, behind the Big Westerner, and it's Darren Hassan Paddy is my first horse to follow. Will probably actually won its point to point beat Master Boy Davis of Gordon. I think that's a Gigginstown horse, but he's not great. Yeah. Then won a run of the mill race, I think a bumper, and then all of a sudden then came along and then beat a horse that caught my eye, who was 4th in the Goffs Defender bumper a couple of seasons ago behind Predator's Gold in Farland, and subsequently purchased in by Paul Nichols. Then he went to Lingfield last year at the trial for the Albert Bartlett, beat Honky Tonk High. Winter Millions thing, and then finished 3rd up in the band all the time in the Albert Bartlett and just weakened at the end. Now, it was a little bit soft on the last day, slightly soft. It wasn't unbelievably soft in the Albert Bartlett, but all its best form's been on heavy ground. So soft, heavy, Cheltenham, come Cheltenham next year, I'd be laughing. I would be very happy. But don't be surprised this horse ends up with like the northern tracks at the start of the season. You're like Surveyors, maybe up towards... Like, I know it won a maiden hurdle over 2.5 miles at Ute. Don't be afraid to be looking at these meetings, because if 3 to 1 winner there is the same as a 3 to 1 winner.
Absolutely, Jay. Absolutely.
But the softer the ground, he's great form on heavy ground. My ultimate target with him is Beltway and these novices and novice limited handicaps up the top of north of the country in Ayr and all likes those places, and then Kelso and all them, and then prep him then for the ultimate. I don't think he might be good enough to run in the Browns, but look, that's a tough race to win with certain horses that we know that are going there. But my ultimate aim is, it might be a bit obvious already, but she loves the ultimate. Corach Rambler, Myrtar, she knows her stuff that way, and the reason I picked this horse because it formed out of a Bartlett, and I like to target a race, and I wouldn't be surprised if this goes off a single figure or even a 10-12 to 1 shot for an ultimate later in the season, I'm hoping. So there you have it, Paddy.
Some shout in September, Jamie, go on.
I know, I was thinking that. I love that you're like, yeah, I've got this, I've nailed it down. So you don't even need to study for the next 6 months now. We know we've got the ultimate winner locked down there from Jamie. Okay, so we'll go on to my number 1, and mine is, again, I've got a little bit of a mixture of what I'm after, horses that may win a few races. But the first horse I'm actually going to start with just a really progressive horse from last season, who actually went on to win the plate at the Cheltenham Festival. But it's a horse called Jaguar for Greenhill and Guerrero, obviously owned by JP McManus. Now, this is only a 6-year-old at the moment, and the Green and Grey team, look, they're an improving yard every single year. And Jaguar just looks like a really smart prospect for the season ahead. He actually started last year on a mark of 118, finished on a mark of 148, and fully deserves it too. He won 4 of his 5 starts, and the only time he was beat was actually against Jinko Blue, who's obviously a really smart horse in his own right for Nicky Henderson. Um, Again, even from there though, he just continued to progress, and he managed to win that plate. But he's a horse that I just like on the basis of his running style too. He's a very easy mover. You can probably ride him from the front, but he seems to just come from the back and just start picking them off one by one. And I really like that because not too much can go wrong. So look, he still looks quite dangerously handicapped to me off a mark of 148, and I'd probably expect him to land a few big pots this year. Um, he's a very progressive horse. He's got all the attributes I like. He travels, he jumps. We've got no reason to believe that he's finished progressing yet. The plate doesn't usually throw up these sort of horses, but he is only a 6-year-old, so he'd be dangerous to underestimate, despite going on a bit of a winning run last year. And we might see him in the Paddy Power. It'd be nice to see him come up against the likes of Coldwell Potter off a similar mark, but really get a good understanding of what the horse is like. But I think you could follow him all year, and he might even dip his toe into a bit of graded company if he can pick up one of the big chases earlier on in the season. So Jaguar is number 1 for me. Liam, we're going to come back around to you now for number 4.
Yes, so obviously my second is, and number 4 for us is Navajo Indy, for a trainer who's not too far from me. If I had a decent arm, which I don't, and you probably need quite a good one to be fair, he's trained just down the road by Tom Simmons. But he has won over 2 miles, but you look at his last 2 starts, one of which, when he was flying home, was in what was formerly known, of course, as the Betfair Hurdle. Now it's sponsored by William Hill, isn't it? It's the William Hill Hurdle. But he came from out of picture and was absolutely storming home, was never getting anywhere near the winner, Joyeuse, who absolutely hacked up. But a step up in trip is all he needs, and he'll definitely win races. Off a mark of 129, he's only a 6-year-old, will be turning 7 at the turn of the year. I think there's still loads more progression to come from him. I think, they'll probably line him up for a decent pot. They may even try to go for a stiff 2 miles, something like the Great would perhaps. But he's not really going to float my boat until he gets to the 2.5 mile distance. But once he does, I don't think he's got one win in him, Joe. I think he's probably got a couple. So Navajo Indy off 129, I think he's progressive.
Has he been running over 2 miles mainly, has he been running over shorter?
Yeah. Almost consistently, and I think there's been a few people banging their head against the wall, mate, thinking, just
I see.
Up in trip, Tom.
Yeah,
go on.
I was just gonna say he's a prime example of one, like, in your tracker, isn't he? You'd put, look, wait, be patient until 2 mile 4, and like Liam said, hopefully you can pick up a few wins out of this horse then as well. So
but you're so right, Joe, and I think it would, like, not to labour on the point, but if you put horses in your tracker, if you don't put comments next to them, you may as well have not put them in. If you don't know why they're there, then don't bother. So it might be a little bit of a nose to put the notes in, but you need to know why they're in there, don't you?
Exactly. And it's like when you see people say, "Oh, I backed this last time. It's like, you probably backed loads of horses that have eventually gone on to win another race, and it's like you can't look at it like that. You've really got to be definitive with what you want, haven't you? So Navajo Indy, anything else to add, or was that it for you there, Liam?
No, that's it for on him, mate.
Perfect. Jamie, number 4.
I think this horse is mainly, Joe, maybe could be a target for, could be an ultimate again. I don't know why I picked another ultimate horse, but could come into graded races, could run at a Betfair Chase, could run in a Grand National, because Mr. Henderson has never won a Grand National. And I did think this horse might have a chance down the line to win a Grand National. I'm hoping. And the name of the horse is, you mentioned him when talking about Jaguar, and it's Jinko Blue.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Nice.
Obviously, he was pulled up behind Ballyburn in the Gallaghers, as they call it now. Won at Sandown in February last year in a handicap hurdle. Then went to Uttoxeter on a limited handicap chase. Then went to Windsor. And it's the form of the Windsor races really catching the eye. Beat Lowry's Bar, who will be a decent handicapper again for the pubs this season. And Johnny Who. Johnny Who should have won the Kimura in my book. Just faded out in the end. So that screams Grand National to me. Down the line, hopefully. Look, he was going well enough in the Reynoldstown. Sprawled on line. He slipped really more than anything. Race won by the change man. We haven't seen him since. I think they like this horse that won a point-to-point years ago for Rob James in Old Town, and he was bought for decent money at the time. So I think down the line, hopefully this horse might be a Grand National horse. He's marked as 151. Is it too high to exploit handicaps at the moment, or maybe he could be a Hennessy horse? You just don't know at the moment because we haven't seen him since February. But I've always kind of liked this horse, but he screams of a real Marden staying chaser. So yeah, I definitely maybe at the start of the season prep run, then the Hennessy, and we'd see how we go in him. Like if he wins that off 151, he's going into Grade Company, and you can't do anything about that. And it's a big division in the 3 mile division, as we know. But hopefully, Henderson might think this might be a Grand National horse, and it might be his answer to win a Grand National. So Jinko Blue is definitely a horse to follow during the season. Yeah,
Nice one. Love that thinking behind that one, Jamie. And this again, just for anyone listening, we'll put all of these in our trackers as well. Jamie will probably forget, so I'll put Jamie's in my tracker.
I won't forget my horses as well, boy.
And then Jamie can put it on Twitter
All up
to remind
here.
everyone that's
I don't need I need the computer to tell me. My computer tells me.
There's a big old head. There's a lot of knowledge in there.
Just before we move on, Joe, are we not giving Nicky Henderson half a Grand National win with Iron Maximus?
No, we are not.
No.
Because you can't give Paul Nicholls the Grade 1s that Willie Mullins won with Stormy Island either. So unfortunately, Mullins is king.
I'm still learning the game. Okay.
Willie Mullins, who's that? Right. We're going to move on to my next selection. Speaking of Paul Nicholls, it's actually going to be Caliph de Burley, the 5-year-old gelding. Now, it's going to be a really difficult season this year for Paul Nicholls, but he'll be determined as ever to win plenty of races. And I think Caliph de Burley is exactly the type of horse that's going to help him do that as well. He's only a 5-year-old. He's very much unexposed at this point in his career as well. And going into the season ahead, there's a lot more improvement to come. And I know he's going to be stepping into deeper company this year too, but I believe he probably has the class to just take that in his stride. Look, he is a Grade 1 winner now already, obviously, from winning at Aintree. But including him in my horses to follow isn't by any means me suggesting that this is masterminded or a Zertiop coming to the fore, but he's going to be running in the very top races, and I think he can probably land 1 or 2 Grade 1s this year. With so many of the Nicholls horses obviously leaving the yard, Caliph's obviously got some big shoes to fill alongside with sort of Coldwell Potter, but these 2 horses are going to get the full attention of the team this year because obviously there's less runners in the yard. That alone could probably help both of these horses outperform their expectations. Now, Caliph's a really likeable horse. He's a good jumper. And I'm giving Nicholls the benefit of the doubt that with a full focus on Caliph this year, he can deliver some big wins and as he takes sort of the step into open company. He may ultimately be aimed at Aintree, but that's fine because that actually may mean he doesn't follow the sort of conventional champion chase route. And obviously by avoiding that, you're going to sidestep the likes of possibly Sir Gino and John Bond. So he's going to be campaigned really smartly this year. He'll pick up plenty of graded races. And look, whether people currently like it or not, Paul Nicholls is an incredibly good target trainer. And I think he will get plenty out of Caliph de Burley this year, just like he did with Coldwell Potter last year. So I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt that there's a Grade 1 or 2 in Caliph de Burley. Okay. Liam, 3 left to go.
Yeah, so my third one, mate, and I'm going to head back to Warwickshire and Ulster and the best trainer we've got this side of the water, who learned everything that he knows from Paul Nicholls. Back to Skelton's Country Mile, a horse that I banged on about quite a bit last year. I was absolutely adamant he was going to be primed for a county hurdle tilt last season. I'm not sure. They evidently thought a lot of this horse. He was thrown into Grade 1 company.
Yeah.
Or was it Grade 2? Sorry, at Aintree. The novice hurdle at Aintree at Christmas.
Grade 2.
Grade 2, yeah. So they threw him into graded action there. Unfortunately, like most of the racing last Christmas, we couldn't see anything of it because it was that foggy. So we don't really know how he got on that day. I think Potter's Charm ended up winning that race.
Oh, it's a Grade 1, yeah, the Formby.
The Formby, Grade 1.
Formby, of course. I remember it, yeah, of course.
Then again, over in Britain, novice hurdles don't really matter, does it?
Basically a Grade 2.
Whatever number you like next to him.
Listed race, really.
Yeah, exactly.
But But yeah, he was evidently thrown into that. And if you look back at his form, especially at Cheltenham specifically, because that's where I'm going to focus with this horse, Joe.
Okay.
He
Okay.
absolutely bolted up in December, hands and heels coming up the hill, and beat Wingmen by over 7 lengths. Wingmen's now rated 139, Country Miles rated 137. £2 lower than him, and he absolutely beat him out of sight. You could argue that Wingman wasn't on a going day that day, but he was so impressive. So I think early season target could potentially be the Greatwood for him. Thereafter, I wouldn't put it past him then actually going on and winning potentially in another nice pot within a handicap, whether it be the William Hill Hurdle, and then ultimately going for the county. And I think he could progress to potentially getting in around a 145, 150 sort of mark. Maybe that's a little bit dream world, but I think he's definitely progressive based on what he's done previously. We just need to know that he's sound and well. He's not currently in the betting for the Greatwood. He's definitely one on my radar for that. But I think in handicap company over hurdles this season, he's definitely one that people should be following.
Yeah, love that. I really enjoy that, especially the scout and shouts are always really interesting. And again, if anyone isn't part of, Liam does have a free Telegram group. We will chuck the link up somewhere. If not, that will be on Liam's Twitter as well. Jamie, who have you got for us next? Which trainer first? You did mention
David Pipe. I think this is going to be an obvious one that everyone's going to put up. Was favourite for a Cheltenham bumper once upon a time. I go back when started to start. Won a bumper at Cork by a nostril. Then goes on to Ballinrobe. How was ever beaten at Ballinrobe by 4 lengths from a horse from Emmett Mullins called Jerry from Kerry. And then all of a sudden then goes to my neck of the woods in the Stole in the festival last year and slams a horse who finished 4th called Heads Up for John McConnell. And John McConnell's horse Heads Up was second in the bumper to Bambino Fever. And then all of a sudden this horse then is purchased by the Pipe crowd. Wind Beneath My Wings is named the horse. Absolutely hacks up at Ascot in the listed bumper. Beating Moneygarrow, who was taught a lot of at Skelton's, and 2 Skelton's horses, the same owner, Moneygarrow and Fortune de Mare could have made my list on this. No problem in the world in a different day. It's the race that the Jerry from Kerry is the most one. The one that Jerry from Kerry beat him at Ballinrobe. It was the listed Navan bumper was won by a horse that nearly made my top 5 in Gordon Elliott's Calypso Chance. Heads Up was second in that, and third was Classical Creek, and 4th was Jerry from Kerry. The form is massive. And these horses the form he has in with are going to win a lot of races. Now, he's 25 to 1 for the Supreme. I don't know if he's a Supreme horse yet. We'll have to wait and see. He could be like a stair Supreme horse, if you know what I mean. He looks like he can stay. The world is his oyster, I think, and I think he'll like. To me, I think he's a shadow horse. That's just me at the start, and he could go anywhere. Supreme, Ballymore, Albert Bartlett. You just don't know yet how quick he is, really. But the turn of foot he showed in Ascot was amazing. Soft ground obviously is a big help, but he's definitely one to follow in British novice hurdles this year. And if he goes out in front on soft ground, he'll be a hard horse to catch. And it's good to see David Pipe with a good horse.
you're a big fan of like form lines, Jamie, aren't you, as well? And sort of where a horse is sort of at now, and then a horse finishing X amount behind is unexposed, and thinking, well, where's the ceiling? So, do you think he'll be most likely the Challow then? If I put you on the spot, you think?
Yeah, the Challow, but he'll have another horse to beat from the Skeletons, so I'll mention in a minute.
Okay, fine, cool. Well, we'll hold fire on that one for now then. Right, moving on to again my third. Now I am cheating here, gents, because this horse is actually trained by Joseph O'Brien. But I think you've got to let me get away with this one because I think it's being campaigned here in the UK. Now, this is a 3-year-old and actually still a colt at this point in time. It's a horse called Dignam, who is owned by Paul Byrne. I don't know if anyone's been watching, but to me, it looks like he's got a seriously good juvenile here. Like I said, he's going to be running over here in the English races, and it's probably worth pointing out it's quite unusual that he's a colt, but he's already had 10 runs on the flat. He did win over 7 furlongs and then never really showed anything else, but he has switched to hurdle and he's been absolutely brilliant since. On his hurdle debut, he beat a horse called Lord for Ollie Murphy, who has since bolted up by about 10 lengths in a nice race. He then beat a horse called Manana Blue, who also has gone on to bolt up since. And then carrying a double penalty at Cartmel, Dignam basically won hard held. He's just far too progressive to ignore. What's also interesting is that they've taken the time to send JJ Slevin over for just sort of one ride on one day every time Dignam has sort of been here. And that surely suggests to me that they're probably going to be targeting the juvenile hurdles that you get over here. So they could easily start at possibly Chepstow, then go to the race at Cheltenham. They could go to the Adonis, Kempton, and then even back to sort of Cheltenham if they want for, you never know, hopefully the Triumph, but if not the Boodles. And Joseph O'Brien's done this really well previously with a horse called Comfort Zone who came over for JP McManus and did exactly what you'd want to see for these sort of juveniles. So he knows exactly what it takes. And Dignam is a horse that's gone massively, massively under the radar. He won easy on debut, then won easy under a penalty, hosed up under a double penalty, and I wouldn't be surprised to see this horse picked up by JP McManus between now and even his next race, because I think he's going to be targeted on all of these UK juvenile races, and he's going to be mightily hard to beat based on what else I can see coming through. So that's Dignam for Joseph O'Brien.
Fair play, Joe. That's some golden research. Seeing that JJ's just gone across there to ride him, like with one ride a day, that definitely is a telltale, isn't it?
It's got to be significant. And then obviously, like I said, the fact that they've done this before with a horse called Comfort Zone for JP. Paul Burnoff often buys horses a bit cheaper, gets a little bit of black type in, and then sells them on to JP, you know, so it might be that sort of stepping stone thing. And just interesting, you know, it could be the case that the form's nothing, but everything's just been franked and he ticks every box for now, at least. So we'll run with it, Liam, anyway, and see how he gets on this season. Number 2 then, Liam, getting towards the top end of the list.
Yes, we are, and it's Cabello de Guerrero, which is CABALLODEGUERRA. If you need that again, you might have to rewind.
Yeah.
But she's trained up in the north for a trainer that Jamie alluded to, who's very good with these stayers, and he's with Lucinda Russell. He really took my eye, Joe, on his second start in a bumper. He basically he was quite headstrong, really, and he pulled himself from the back of the field, went right round the outside of the field that day and pulled himself to the front, and you would have thought that he probably would have exerted enough energy to absolutely have no chance come the finish, but he stayed on so strongly into third, and I thought, well, this horse will definitely stay, and potentially a hurdle might just relax him and calm him down slightly. I think he's definitely one to follow who you could back in some of these weaker, let's be honest, races up north, who potentially could win in these sort of contests as a novice in a bit of a weaker division, I suppose, up in the north of the country. And I think he's definitely one to have on side. A trip will be the key to him. It more than likely line up in a 2-mile novice. I wouldn't be interested at that point. But when he steps up in trip, he's one that I'd have on side. It will be low class affairs, but look, winners will be winners, and perhaps one that not many would have taken note of.
Absolutely. And how do you spell that? No, I'm only joking.
Don't know, Jamie.
Jamie, who's next on your list then?
The one we argue about, Joe, I suppose.
Okay, you've got it. You've got it. You won.
This horse could go anywhere. It could be Supreme again, Ballymore and Albert Bartlett. Caught my eye hugely at Warwick. Won his bumper at Warwick before the Cheltenham Festival, trained by Paul Nicholls. Is no drama this end. If you look at the colours, the Barber colours, you think he's going to be a 3-mile chaser down the end, I suppose, towards the end of his career, hopefully, to start his career after novice hurdles. I think everything he does as a novice hurdle is going to be a bonus, to be honest with you. Finished 9th in the champion bumper, which was a good run for a horse only with little experience. I suppose the race at Warwick is going to throw up a lot of winners this year in Coupe de Board for the Skeltons and Cinquenta for the Snowdens. Definitely they're winners in waiting as well. But look where he finished in the bumper ahead of which catches my eye the most. Coco Cabana, Calypso Chance, Game of Inches. I started a joke for Charles Burns, Fortune the Bear. Harry Skelton, Dan Skelton. There's not much. There's only a couple of things between all of them, and all these horses are going to win massive races this year in both sides of the Irish Sea. And it's just the way he won at Warwick really caught my eye, and he's definitely one. Could be another Telehorse, like we talking about, but I think he's a really good horse, and hopefully Nicholls has one for the season in the novice status.
Nichols would have left loads on him after that bumper as well. It's not like he would have been geared up to the nines for a bumper
Mhm.
race, would he? So
No.
plenty more to come. Okay, on to
So, sorry, Joe. Also,
go for it. Go for
we
it.
need to stop rubbishing Cello form as well, don't we, Jamie?
We do. We
Future
do.
champion hurdle winners come from the Cello these days.
And future
100%, yeah.
and
100%.
fu- and future Brown advisory winners as
And,
well,
and
which
so and
tend
some
to
people and
You
some
mean
people
Regent Stroll, Joe?
and some
no
people and some
Wendigo,
people
Wendigo.
and some people on Twitter are going today that there's only one winner of the champion hurdle. He's no competition in state, man. That's a lot of baloney anyway in my book anyway, because there's only
I
one winner of the champion hurdle.
Yeah, I mean you're massive on the new line, aren't you? I mean,
Mhm.
State Man still sets the standard though. New line's got to pass him yet. That's how I see it. Not saying
Yeah.
he won't,
Statements
but
and statements have been in plenty of wars now, lads. So
Here we are.
yeah,
We banned the C word and we've lasted one
yes.
episode.
Let's move on then on that
I haven't.
note. Let's
I
move
won't
on.
my mouth. I have never said the C word for a long time.
No, liar. We've got a group chat. We know you too well.
Uh,
Right, number two for me is actually going to be Active Authority for Ollie Murphy and Diana Waitley. Now look, this is a 7-year-old. He actually finished obviously second to Wadu in the Martin Pipe at the Cheltenham Festival, but he's a 7-year-old now, and even though he's had 15 starts so far, he hasn't been sent over fences once, and I'm not sure if it's by design or if it's a jumping issue or just potentially a case of connections being sort of patient, but it's certainly interesting that they've waited this long, especially considering he has actually won a point as well. He's 1 for 1 in his points. But whatever the reason, I think there's going to be a big pot in this horse coming down future in this season, particularly when Sean Bowen gets the leg up in a handicap hurdle or a chase. Now, I've included him in my 10 to follow for two reasons, really. And while there could be a few different outcomes, I believe he'll just succeed whichever route he takes. Now, if he does go chasing, I suspect he may just fall short of the novice chasers as a 7-year-old based on his hurdles mark. So, I think connections are probably quick enough to recognize that as well. So over fences, he'd be against sort of younger, more progressive types. And for that reason, I wonder if that's why Ollie Murphy's actually just going to keep him over hurdles instead and, have one big target for him. So this is the horse that I'm going to target one race at, and it's going to be the Pertemps final at the Cheltenham Festival. I think this is going to be his Pertemps horse. He didn't have one last year, but he looks a perfect fit now that he's got that Cheltenham form. If we see him lining up in that Newbury qualifier, that American Sniper one early on in the season, in fact, it's in November, so it's not quite early in the season, then I'd be all over him for March. I'm going to back him until he wins a Pertemps qualifier, and then I'm going to back him at Cheltenham. That's the plan. Of course, it may not even go that far. Now, like I said, he could pick up one race, he could pick up two, but I think he's got an ultimate target here with this sort of horse. It just looks like a plot for the season, and that form behind Woodoo looks solid to me. So look, I think he's going to be campaigned as a Pertemps final horse, maybe another hurdles race, but a big handicap at Cheltenham over hurdles, and he looks like he fits the bill quite well. So he will do for me, and the Martin Pipe form has worked out quite good. Liam, right, your final one for your English fight to follow.
Yeah, so typically, and I think we find this generally with horses to follow, they tend to be younger horses, and obviously everything on my list has been a 5 or 6-year-old. We're going to jump to a 9-year-old, a horse that would have been definitely in everybody's notebooks and trackers from going into last season, and that's Gitmaker for
Oh,
Jamie
okay.
Snowden. You still look back at that Kim Muir form, and look, he bumped into what was then going to be a future Gold Cup winner in I Know the Way You're Thinking, but he's pulled 18 lengths clear of everything else in the field. He's beaten horses by 20 lengths, and now rated higher than his mark of 131. He's definitely got to have a pot in him. Whether he's wants to follow like I've tried to lay out with the others in terms of being able to back them and hoping they rack up sequences, possibly not. He might be one who's a little bit more targeted at a particular stay and chase, whether it be the Welsh National or even some sort of particular Grand National. He had a bit of an interrupted campaign last season. He only managed to get to a race course post the new year, so it wasn't seen until January. And then I think it was a little bit of a rush. But if he can come back to his former self, and if I would have the privilege, Joe, of being able to sit down with Jamie Snowden or one of us to ask him the question as to whether what is he going to do with Gitmaker, he'd definitely be the first horse that I'd be asking him about.
Well, our viewers might be in luck, hey Liam, but we can't particularly say why. So yeah, lovely horse, Jitmaker. Jamie, who is your final horse on the list?
I keep saying Harry. Dan Skelton, anyway. I'm going to be killed for saying this horse because my friends that you don't even know who are my friends said to me, but don't say this horse. Come on, don't say it. But Mr.
Save
Bossman
it,
knows.
save it.
Mr.
Okay.
Bossman knows about this horse. And
Oh, I know
and
who you mean because
and
he's
George.
told me. He's told me.
Oh, I know, yeah, because he can't keep his mouth shut.
Oh,
But
we love you, really, Bossman.
because he's from an Irish-based owner who's from the same town as me, wink, wink, uh, used to own a former Supreme winner in Cinders and Ashes, and I see Mister RTC mentioned him the last day. So, oh, you be quiet, please be quiet. So on the 2nd of March, there's a horse from Dermot Hannafin ran at a Huntington bumper, and the name is My Daddy Paddy. Yeah, just go back and watch the horse.
You love this one, don't you? You love him.
Oh yeah, really good turn of foot. Look at the RPR one, an RPR 110 in a bumper in the UK, which is unheard of. In this day and age, no offense, and a top speed of 97. This horse it looks good, and I think it'll go down. Now the problem is you're going to have the comparison with the new line.
Yeah.
But I think he'll go to Chepstow. Wouldn't bother me if he rocked up first time out in the Grade 2. The Grade 2 now that's moved from the November meeting to the October meeting. The Grade 2 at Cheltenham. But probably is another I mentioned in Challow Horses all night. Challow Horses all night. But he's 25-1 for the Supreme. He's 40s for the Gallagher. I couldn't see him being 3-miler now. So he's either 2-miler or 2.5-miler. I think with his speed, I prefer speedier type, as I've always said in the Ballymore Gallagher's instead of a Supreme. But I've been told this is the Supreme horse. So I think he's really good. But the comparison to the new line is going to be compared. But look, I'd love to see him on an undulating track first because, like, no offense to hunting is flat as a pancake. But I think he'll go down the new line route, and hopefully Dan Skelton will put him out in that maiden hurl that the new line won last year, Chepstow, and then go from there. Hopefully, from what I'm hearing, that he's a rattling good horse. And Hannafin does the time of day, and he's won the Supreme before. And I hope he does because it'd be great to see a local owner win from my neck of the woods. So, yeah, My Daddy Paddy would be my strongest. Yeah.
Why do you want to see him on an undulating track? Just to give you the check
because see if he'll handle Cheltenham.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fair enough. Look, it's the pinnacle of the sport. We need to make sure that he can handle the track because it's very much a specialist track. It seems to be more and more specialist as time goes on as well. Okay, and my final selection is slightly biased, but I am a part owner of a horse called Wendigo, a lovely 6-year-old. He actually finished second to the new lion in the Challow Hurdle last year and basically confirmed it was no fluke by stepping up to 3 miles in the Albert Bartlett and finishing fifth, a really strong staying on fifth as well. Turning for home, he tried to go up the inside, and then Dara Keefe on the big Westerner, who was fully entitled to do the same thing, went for the same gap. It just hampered Wendigo. Gavshir nearly came out of the saddle, and then he made up loads of ground again. So it just confirmed to us that we've got a really nice horse for this coming season. Now, when we went into the Challow Hurdle, we were off a mark of 127. That was the same as the Jukebox Man. So the way I see things at the moment is that we are going novice chasing. We're going to follow a very similar route, and I imagine the final aim is going to be the Brown Advisory at Cheltenham. And then perhaps if he's not quite good enough for that, there is the option of the National Hunt Chase because he's probably going to stay as well. His sire, Great Pretenders, produced loads of winners at Cheltenham, lots of mares as well. So, look, we're going into the season progressive. Jamie Snowden's really happy with him. We will have a full update and a plan with him soon, but I can't go against Wendigo. As a part owner, I hope he has a really strong season. We should pick up some nice prize money on the way.
Joe, what was your reaction then when the horse that you love in the Big Westerner closed off a horse that you part own?
Yeah, well, I would have been forgiven.
And I backed the winner.
This is my point, Jay. Maybe I'd have been more forgiven of the Big Westerner if she got a nose in front of Jasmine DeVoe, but I ended up with nothing. So they were both in there. But look, he ran a real admirable race, and although it was hard luck at the time, like I said, we've got confirmed promise now, so full steam ahead. Okay. That is our 5 to follow completed. Anything else to add, gents, regarding horses to follow? Just get a tracker, get some notes in there. And like I said, anyone listening, just make sure you Follow Jamie and Liam on Twitter as well. You can join Liam's Telegram too. Find us anywhere, and obviously that's where you'll get all of our updates on our horses to follow as you go through the season. We'll put little updates. And it'll be good fun to track how they get on, and you can also drop some below this episode too. And at some point, we'll come back and have a look at them and see how everyone's getting on. Right, we are actually going to jump straight off this one and jump onto another and bring you our Irish horses to follow, which will be up on YouTube soon after this episode. Thanks all for tuning in. Please like and subscribe, because then you'll be notified of all of our stable tours and extra content. And we'll be back real soon. Bye for now.